Hey, fourth and fifth graders, this will be our last week of school. So, what I would like to do this week is to move through our Bible timeline and see if I can get you kind of caught up with the other classes. You will not have any additional work that needs to be turned in this week, no written work. So, you need to make sure that you have turned in workbook pages from lessons 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. And you need to make sure that you have done the tests for those lessons. And then you have several Bible verses. I think we did 4 different Bible verses while you have been home. So just all of those things have been posted. If you have any questions about what you have or have not turned in, let me know. So you guys watched the video on the golden calf on Friday. So I just want to kind of go over a couple of things with you. In our Bible memory timeline, we're with Moses. And I'm going to go over that with you in just a second and let you see those pictures. But first, let me just go a little bit through the story of the golden calf a little bit. God had delivered the Israelites from slavery. Remember, they were slaves in Egypt. Pharaoh finally let the people go after the plagues. And then he changed his mind. His army pursued the Israelites. And they came to the Red Sea. God parted the Red Sea. The Israelites made it through, and Pharaoh's army did not make it through. The Israelites came to Mount Sinai, and they camped there in front of the mountain. And Moses went up the mountain, and God spoke to him. And God had a lot to tell Moses, and Moses was up on Mount Sinai for 40 days and 40 nights. And the Israelites at the bottom of the mountain were getting very impatient. And they began to wonder, where's Moses? What's taking him so long? Is he still alive? And the Israelites went to Moses' brother Aaron, and they said, make us a god to lead us. We don't know what's happened to Moses. So Aaron made a golden calf that they could worship. And God saw what the people were doing, and he was angry because of their sin. So he told Moses to go back down the mountain, and he said, I'm going to destroy these people. Please forgive them, Moses said. Remember that great promise you made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? You promised to give them as many offspring as there are stars in the sky. You promised to bless them, and you promised to give them land. So God decided not to destroy the people. Moses went down the mountain, and he carried 2 stone tablets on which God had written the laws. And he had written the 10 Commandments, which is what we're also going to talk about today. And you guys learn those with the Bible Memory Challenge. So all of these things that you've been learning this year are kind of tying together, and you're kind of seeing now why we learned these things. Moses got closer to the camp. He saw that the people were dancing before the golden calf, and he threw down the stone tablets, smashing them at the bottom of the mountain. And then he destroyed the calf they made. What were you thinking? Moses asked Aaron. The people were out of control. The next day, Moses went back up the mountain to talk to God, and these people have sinned against you, Moses said. Please forgive their sin. This is what he said to God. And God told Moses to return to the people, and he said, when the time comes, I'll punish them for their sin. And then the Lord sent a plague, a terrible sickness to the people because they worshipped the golden calf. And God continued to meet with Moses and give him laws and instructions. And he made 2 more stone tablets to replace the ones that Moses broke. And one morning Moses went up the mountain to meet with God. The Lord came down in a cloud, and he said, the Lord is a compassionate and gracious God, but he will not leave the guilty unpunished. Moses bowed down and worshiped God. Lord, please go with us, he said. Forgive our sin and accept us as your people. God's people sinned against God, and Moses asked God to forgive them. Moses acted as their mediator, standing for them before God. Moses could not do anything to make up for their sin, but we have a better mediator, and that's Jesus. Jesus paid for our sin on the cross, and he stands for us before God. And when we trust in Jesus, our sins are forgiven. And we've been going over your big picture question with this story. It is, what is worship? And when I ask you that, what is worship? I want you to say, worship is celebrating the greatness of God. Worship is celebrating the greatness of God. What I would also like to do with you today is to run through a little bit more about the 10 Commandments than what we just talked about, and just make sure that you've got that story down pat. So let me talk to you just for a minute about the 10 Commandments, and then we'll go through our Bible memory timeline. 3 months after the Israelites left Egypt, they came into the wilderness of Sinai, and they camped in front of the mountain. And God had a plan to make the Israelites his special people. He wanted to make a covenant or agreement with the people of Israel. So this is when Moses went up on the mountain. This is when the people stayed back and they made the golden calf. So Moses is up on the mountain. God called to him and he said, "This is what you should tell the Israelites. You've seen what I did to the Egyptians and how I rescued you and brought you to me. If you listen carefully to me and you keep my covenant, you will be my people." Moses went back to the people and told them what God had said, and all the people responded together, "We will do all that the Lord has spoken." So Moses went back up to the Lord. The Lord said to Moses, "I'm going to come to you in a thick cloud. I want the people to hear me speak to you so that they will believe you." Moses told the people what God said, and he got the people ready for the Lord to come down on the mountain. And on the morning of the 3rd day, Moses brought the people out of the camp to meet God, and they stood at the foot of the mountain. God came down on Mount Sinai in a fire, and smoke covered the mountain. The mountain shook, and the sound of the trumpet got louder and louder. God said, "I'm the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt. I freed you from slavery." Then God gave Moses the 10 Commandments. The first 4 commandments told the Israelites what it looks like to have a right relationship with God. "Do not have other gods before me. Do not make an idol for yourself. Do not misuse the name of the Lord your God. And remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy." The last 6 commandments told the Israelites what it looks like to have a right relationship with other people. You must honor your father and your mother. You must not murder. You must keep your marriage promises. You must not steal. You must not lie. And you must not want what belongs to somebody else. That means covet. Moses was on the mountain for 40 days, and God gave Moses many more laws. And when God was finished speaking to Moses on Mount Sinai, he gave Moses 2 stone tablets that he had written on with his own finger. And so this kind of ties in with the golden calf story. God is holy and he's separate from sin. His law shows us what he requires, which is perfect righteousness. Our sin separates us from God, but Jesus came to bring us back to God, and Jesus is perfectly righteous. And when we trust in Jesus, he takes away our sin and welcomes us into God's family. And so once again, I'm going to ask you the big picture question. What is worship? And worship is celebrating the greatness of God. So now let's go through our Bible timeline. You're going to see a couple of new pictures today, so I just want to make sure that you get this. I know that you know most of the beginning of this. So here we go. God created the world. God created people. Sin entered the world. Cain and Abel. Noah and the ark. The Tower of Babel. God's covenant with Abraham. God tested Abraham. The promise reaffirmed. The stolen blessing. Jacob's new name. Joseph sent to Egypt. Joseph's dreams came true. Moses was born and called. The plagues, the Passover, and the crossing of the Red Sea. The wilderness test. The golden calf. Moses and the 10 Commandments. So we're going to work on this a little bit more this week. We'll get into Joshua and Caleb, and we'll get into the Israelites finally entering the Promised Land and Moses turning over his leadership role to Joshua, and then we'll get into some of the judges of Israel. So I look forward to teaching you guys again tomorrow. Make sure you got all your work turned in, and I hope you guys have a great afternoon.